everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Susan Lynn. I'm a psychic and a medium. Thank you for joining me today. We're going to be answering your questions that you sent in regarding politics. We'll see at the end of this video if I add the spiritual ones in, but I think that I'm going to make a separate video with those. So I did receive your questions, so thank you very much, and we're going to get started. I do just want to say briefly that I want to send you love and light wherever you are, whatever you're experiencing it, be it good or bad. I want you to know that right now, if you're watching this video, if you're watching me, I'm sending you love and light, okay? Now, let's move on. We're going to start with Maria DeMayo, or DeMayo. Thank you for your question, Maria. I really appreciate it. Her question is, will the Jan 6 committee complete their investigation by the end of the year? If the investigation is not completed, what will happen since Kinzinger is not running in November? Also, if Cheney is not reelected. So your first question is, will they complete their investigation by the end of the year? I hear yes. They're telling me yes. Now, that doesn't mean that a new committee couldn't be formed in the new year, but there does seem to be an end. You know, this committee ends, their findings are their findings, they wrap it up, they put a bow on it, they put it under the tree or whatever it is that you celebrate around December, and they say, here's your gift, America. I understand that there's energy that suggests that this investigation could be ongoing, but if it is, it'll take a different form. Okay. The second part of your question is, if the investigation is not completed, what will happen since Kinzinger is not running in November and also Cheney is not reelected? Right. That's why they're going to just wrap it up. They pretty much have to. It's like this iteration of this investigation has to wrap up, has to be done with the full understanding that they may start a new investigation in the new year. I don't think so. The investigations that I see happening in the new year could potentially be around impeaching a judge. It feels like investigations that would be happening in 2023 are more within the normal confines of the Congress or the Senate, not an extra judicial or an extra committee. Okay, thank you for your question, Maria. Allie Fitzpatrick, thank you for your question, dear, says, well, by now, when I put out this call for questions, it was a few days ago, and it takes me about 4 hours to do one of these videos to get it completed and then uploaded and whatnot. So it's already Thursday. So I'm not watching the news. I know that Nancy went to Taiwan. I know that she might be back by now is what I'm trying to say to you. Okay, so your question actually is, what does Nancy's visit to Taiwan mean for the world? Is there a massive war coming? I don't think so. This is very much a game of chess. China has a lot to lose to go to war with the United States. For one thing, they hold a lot of our debt. They own a good amount of our farmland. A vast majority of the products that Americans purchase are made in China. So, you know, they have a lot to lose. If our economy goes south, their economy goes south. If we stop buying their products, both countries would suffer. So you're going to be seeing some saber rattling, some posturing. Now, I'm not going to lie. I mean, there is real tension here. And I would say that, not to be coarse, but I would say that for Biden to send Nancy Pelosi to Taiwan is like basically opening your London fog and showing that you have balls as big as as big as Texas, because that's really something, right? That's Biden saying, look, here's the deal. There's a new sheriff in town. They've said this very often when referring to Biden. There's a new sheriff in town. I know we've always done this, but just let me tell you that I have other resources. So, Biden, this is something the guy's been saying for at least a year and a half. Biden is going to these other countries, Australia, even countries in South America and Europe, and he's trying to create new trade deals, new trade pacts. To be honest with you, he's trying to lessen our dependence on China. And that is definitely going to make China mad. Also, of course, the way that Taiwan is now becoming back into Taiwan is a big hot button for China and the United States. So there's a lot of hot buttons here. I'm not trying to downplay that, but I am saying that the United States isn't going to back down. We fully understand how much China depends upon us. And we are sort of, if you can think of two opponents locked together, we are locked. What happens to the United States happens to China, and what happens to China happens to the United States. So there's going to be some pulling and pushing, but not any real, there can't be. We're too dependent on each other. Hopefully that makes sense. I mean, there's going to be a lot of saber rattling with these communist countries as well, because they're upset that America is helping Ukraine to the extent that it is, that now so many other countries are going to be joining NATO and the EU is changing. This is very threatening to communist countries, to authoritarian countries. It's very threatening to them. So they've got to rattle their sabers. They've got to puff up their chest and be big and bad so that no one gets any ideas about, them being weak. Okay. It's a struggle. It's a power struggle is what it is. Basically, at its most barest, most open, it's a power struggle. Okay. Thank you for your question. Jason Doggett says, will Kevin McCarthy win re-election this November in his new district? Thank you, Jason. I appreciate your question. Will Kevin McCarthy? Well, okay. So again, remember how I talked about the trap that they, quote unquote, they are setting for Trump? So it's very interesting. When I go into Kevin McCarthy's energy, it's like this. A certain part of his future is very clear. Like if you can imagine the clearest Caribbean water, you can see all the way down to the bottom. You can see everything. And then you go over to an area where it's very sandy, and perhaps the water is more murky. Part of his life is murky. Part of his life is clear. The murky part is the part they're not allowing me to see. And I think that what I'm hearing is that Kevin is going to get caught up. They're showing me the rug pulled out from under him. They pull the rug out from under him, and then, he loses his balance. He's standing on the rug. The rug gets pulled out from under him. He kind of falls backwards and tumbles. That doesn't mean he's going to lose, but it does mean that he's going to have some pretty good shocks to his system, if you will. And I think there is a really good possibility that at the 11th hour, he steps down or away. There's even energy that he might step away from the election and anoint someone with his full backing so that person can win. Because if he did that, that person would likely win. So, if you're going to read between the lines of why that would happen, I would have to say something's going to happen to Kevin McCarthy that's going to cause him to not be able to run for office or to have to take his attention and put it elsewhere. If you've got, let's say, the feds looking into everything that you've done for the last, whatever statute of limitations is, all of a sudden you really need to pay attention. And the guides are showing me, if you guys haven't seen this, please Google it. Alex Jones of InfoWars. He's being sued by the Sandy Hook parents because he was just a complete douchebag and said a lot of terrible things about Sandy Hook, that it didn't happen, that it was all stage actors. I mean, he just said the most, first of all, just stupid, asinine things, but secondly, very, very hurtful things. Well, they've sued him, and just like 2 days ago or yesterday, Alex Jones's own attorney gave the prosecuting attorney, Alex Jones, everything on his phone. Everything. So, and then when the prosecuting attorney said, wait a minute, do I get access to everything? Or is some of this, they said, no, you get access to everything. So here Alex Jones is on the stand, and the prosecutor is saying, you realize that I have everything that you've ever texted and said. And if you're not careful, you're going to perjure yourself. Do you understand what perjury is? And Alex Jones, I mean, he looks like he's like one Big Mac away from a heart attack. Anyway, I thought he was going to have a heart attack on the stand. So this is what they're showing me, okay? Alex Jones is dead to rights, but they're showing me this is kind of Kevin McCarthy's situation. The feds know everything, and he needs to figure out what he has said so he don't perjure himself. So it's like sort of tiptoeing through a minefield. When that happens, you really can't, running for office is the least of your worries at that point, right? So this is kind of what I see for Kevin McCarthy. But if you haven't seen that clip, it's a very short clip of Alex Jones. It's worth watching because you can see the look on his face. He's blustering the whole time, but you can read the look in his eyes is priceless. Thank you for your question, Jason. Anna Hislop says, have they retrieved the Secret Service deleted messages, and will anyone in the Secret Service or those who ordered them to delete the messages be brought on charges? And for extra credit, she adds, will this happen in the new year? Oh, excuse me, before the new year. Yes, so I have read before that the Secret Service will, those deleted messages will become public. I do think a few will not become public because they will be deemed top secret. So some, let's just put it this way, it could be much worse than it will be. However bad it is, please know that's worse, because there are other messages that it's very easy for them to declare something to be top secret. So some things will be redacted, but yes, we will get a lot of the messages, and they will be damning, and people will be fired. Yes, fired is what I got, and you're asking, will they be brought on charges? This answers your third question. These charges don't happen till next year. The wheels of justice move like, glacial. They're very slow. So these charges do not come up until next year. I'm hearing 6 months from now. So because of the nature of the Secret Service and the nature of what they do and who they protect, there's a lot of wrangling over what is going to be allowed to be public and what isn't. So that's what I see. But yeah, I mean, overall, they're telling me we're going to have an overhaul of our Secret Service, meaning a lot of Secret Service people are going to leave. They're going to leave. They're going to bail. They're going to go. I mean, they can parlay that experience into all kinds of jobs in the private sector. And sadly, can they go work for other countries? That would be terrible. You know, if we don't have a clause that keeps our ex-Secret Service people from working for other countries, I think it's time to add one. But that's what I saw briefly. I saw them working for that. Who's the Saudi Arabian prince that goes by an acronym, 3 letters, M something? It's nuts, right? When I get into this energy, it's like you just see everything that's wrong, like things that we really should fix. It's sort of like getting in your boat to sail across the transatlantic and then finding out you've got a few holes here and there. Hello, maybe you should have fixed those earlier. So anyway, thank you for your question, Anna. I'm a block. I am block. I'm block. I can't do that. I'm sorry. Okay. Thank you for your question now. Will it ever be discovered who paid off Brett Kavanaugh's debts, thus paving the way for his appointment to SCOTUS? Yes. I think I've read on this before because they're showing me this picture and they've told me that I've read on this before. We do find out that his debts were paid off by this dark money, and his debts, I think, were paid off by his parents, okay? But what I've seen is then his parents were made whole, were then paid back, okay? I've seen about 6 months later to 8 months later, money flowed to Brett Kavanaugh's parents that paid them back for that. And somebody's still getting money. This dark money is still flowing to those Supreme Court. They're showing me Amy Coney Barrett. This is for entertainment purposes only. Entertainment purposes only. Your question is, will it ever be discovered who paid off? Yes, and yes, we'll discover it. And then I would just say that I don't think Brett Kavanaugh is going to be long on the Supreme Court. I don't see him there for very long. Meaning I think he'll be gone within a year from today. Thank you so much for your question. Laurel Sorensen says she would like to know if Michigan is going to vote for abortion rights in the next election. We connected enough signatures to get on the ballot, so voters are voting for it and against it. Will it pass? Yes, I think that it will pass. I think that Michigan is going to be pro-choice. Okay, that's what I think. That's what I'm getting. Maybe I don't know when this election is, you guys, but energy can change. But right now, I'm getting pro-choice, and I feel like the longer away that election is, the better. So there's a groundswell of people and information. There's a groundswell of information, I don't know what else to call it, that we're not aware of. Unless you're on TikTok and Twitch and, all these other platforms, you're just not aware of it. But it's big. It is big. And it's talking to those Gen Zers. It's talking to those younger people. They are coalescing. They're coalescing. They're coming together. Thank you for your question, though. I appreciate it. Mickey Walk, good to see you. Thank you for your question. Mickey Walk is still curious about North Korea. I'm sure they're planning another launch, which Mickey Walk says is a test. But when? And one question that preys on my mind, are they incompetent or going beyond their skills? My worry is that they'll launch something, have it fall apart in flight, and randomly hurt someone on a fishing boat or land on another country like Japan and cause an international incident. Are they competent missile builders and testing only things they are relatively sure of? No, they're not. I'm sorry, that was kind of like bold, wasn't it? But no, they're not competent. They're not professional. They're not competent. They're they're showing me you can't really have true competence when somebody has a gun to their head. Meaning, when you say, this isn't working, I don't know why, but I need more time to make this work. and somebody says, no, the supreme ruler says this has to work by this date, what are you going to do? You're just going to slap that part together and pray for the best. I mean, when you don't have freedom, you end up with things like this, with like, the guys have talked a lot about Russia and about their incompetent and inaccurate weapons, and soldiers. Now, as far as it, as far as it like killing somebody, I mean, yes, it could. I mean, I'm telling Mickey Walk, it could land on Japan. It could land in South Korea. It could land anywhere. It could land in the ocean. All those things are possible. I don't see it starting an international incident, though. I don't see it starting a war. But you know what they just showed me? Going back to Biden and Pelosi visiting Taiwan and talking about how this is a lot of saber rattling, posturing. They just showed me these Western countries, or not Western, but these democratic countries that are surrounding these authoritarian countries are starting to get annoyed. Is the word, annoyed. And I see in the next 10 years, I see South Korea and Japan, and even, I mean, other countries having those missile defense systems. And if you want to test something, we're just going to shoot it down. We're going to shoot it down over your land. You know, if it's radioactive, then that's on you. But we're not going to let you test these things. We're not. And so that's going to be the ultimate posturing. But they're holding these other countries hostage by sending these things in the air that are not, you know, well put together, professionally created or done. I just see these other countries saying, we're not going to let you do it. We're going to hold you hostage. We're going to make sure that you can never send another missile. And that's that. The democratic countries have the money. They have the firepower. It's sort of also like Israel having that dome that protects it, right? You're going to see more of those kinds of things, more protective measures, but also more offensive measures. So that was interesting. Thank you, Mickey Walk. Left Pine 2 says, Leonard Leo, the co-chairman of the Federalist Society and a member of Opus Dei, was responsible for getting financial backing for our right-wing support Supreme Court judges. Do your guides see his influence dwindling? It's interesting when you use the word dwindling, the guides come back with the answer block. So Leonard Leo, his ability, his influence is not going to dwindle. That would mean that he loses power. So he's not going to lose power, but he is going to be blocked. So that's a big difference. He's going to be just as powerful, but he's going to be blocked from accessing, using this dark money, the Supreme Court. So I just thought that was an interesting juxtaposition to your question. Thank you, Left Pine, too. I mean, there's a warning there, and there's good and bad in that response. This guy's going to be very powerful, but he's not going to be able to get to the Supreme Court like he has been. Okay, New England Nomad said, thank you, New England Nomad. Will D or R win Arizona governor? I heard D. I heard D. That's a surprise to me. Again, guys, it's early. Things can happen, and things are going to happen. I mean, I'm telling you guys, everything's going to go upside down, flip right side up, go upside down again. Just lots of moving people, being indicted, charged, going away, coming back, a lot of things. The There are numerous new Gen Z Twitter pages focused on voting in November. Will they have mild, strong, or shocking impact? They're going to have shocking impact. Shocking. And that, if you remember the Republicans saying, where did all these people come from? These people have never voted in these numbers before. Remember what they said about Trump? This has got to be fake because there's so many new voters. Well, hello, wait till you see these new voters. We're talking in some cases 2 and 3 times the normal number of voters. 2 and 3 times. Okay, so yes, it's going to be shocking. Your question is, will D or R win Kentucky Senate? Damn it, I heard R. I heard R. God. It's early, guys. We got to work harder. I would just say work harder. He's not, if you're going to ask the guides right now, this is the energy right now. I got to shake that off. Okay. Will a strong hurricane season influence how Republicans vote? Good question. You know that flood in Kentucky, those people vote Republican. Those people that were flooded out, God bless all of them. But they voted. They vote Republican. Will a strong hurricane season influence how Republicans vote? I don't think so. I'm sorry to say. And I'm in hurricane. I mean, I'm down here where I have a fair number of hurricanes, but I don't see that happening. I'm sorry to say. The last question you have, and thank you for your questions, is what are the spiritual guides of Trump lovers trying to accomplish? Are their guides trying to help them out-hinder them? Are their guides trying to help them out-hinder maybe him or them? Oh, them, out-hinder them. Okay, what are the spiritual guides of Trump lovers trying to accomplish? Well, they're forcing us to choose. It's just like the guides always say, what will humans choose? What will humans choose? What will humans choose? We are on a planet with free will. So in like 98% of the time, we have free will. That little bit of leftover 2% is when you're about to do something that goes against your own soul path. Sometimes they'll intervene. But for the majority of the time here, we have free will. So these Trump lovers are trying to push us. It's like, if you don't have to make a choice, then you're not going to make a choice. Why make a choice? If you're forced to make a choice, you're going to make a choice. So now our choice is, do we want abortion or no abortion? Do we want reasonable immigration, or do we want very, very draconian laws around immigration? Do we want to love and value each other regardless of race or sexual orientation or disability or class? I mean, what do we want? These Trumpers are pushing us. And that is what's happening. We have the far, well, it's not even the far. I'm going to say we have people that vote D, regardless of whether you're left of D or right of D. You vote D. We have people that vote R. And then we have everybody in the middle. All those people in the middle that don't vote, that don't think it matters, that just have their head down, taking care of their lives, taking care of their kids, taking care of their grandkids, going to work, maybe dealing with health issues, or maybe they're just enjoying their life. Maybe they have a lot of money and they're just, or they're reasonably well off and they just don't care. And they're voting on just whatever. But they've never really thought about it. So we have these people in the middle that don't think that their vote matters, or they just can't be bothered. And then we have these people that just vote on whatever, I don't really care. All those people are now getting a wake-up call in their mailbox. They've now lost access to abortion. They may lose access to gay marriage. They may lose access to contraception. they may be experiencing some real pain and agony in their lives now. They're feeling it personal. Oh, wait, this is affecting me. Now they're going to go vote. So that's what these Trumpers are doing. They're pushing people out of their comfort zone. Doesn't that make sense? Think about down here, think about all the trucks with the Trump flags and the Trump rallies and the parades and the impromptu 5-truck little parades down your street. Think about the intimidation that these people have done. Think about how you've had to maybe change your life to kind of, not get involved with one of those people. They're pushing us out of our comfort zone, and they're pushing all these Gen Zers to the polls. So that is their role here. I don't really understand. Are their guides trying to help them hinder them? I don't really understand that part, but hopefully that's answered your question. Thank you for your questions. I really appreciate it. Deborah Cook says, Lucas Kuntz in Missouri is running for senator. Is he who he says he is? And does he believe what he says he believes? I'm getting no. I'm getting no. I'm getting a strong no. Do your due diligence. Look, you can take that information now and dig in a little bit more into his. I feel like, Deborah, you can dive deep into, you're going to go look at his social media. I mean, you're going to find out things. The guides are telling me you're going to find out incongruencies where he said one thing, did another thing. He's very, I hate to say this about people. I don't even know this person, but I feel like he's available to be bought for entertainment purposes only, and allegedly. Okay, I don't know why I do these things. I don't know why I'm on YouTube saying these things. I don't know. Okay, Julianne said, when did Pelosi go to Taiwan when she knew, or why? Why did she go to Taiwan? I think I've already answered that, Julianne. Thank you for your question. Great. Jewel of the Tarot. Hi, Jewel of the Tarot. Says, Iran is threatening to rapidly build nuclear warheads capable of turning New York into hellish ruins. Did you see the eye roll I just did? If the U.S. makes any stupid mistakes, is this saber rattling or something we need to have on our radar? How will the U.S. respond? It's absolutely nothing. I can't say that to you. We know more than they think we do. I'll say that. I'll leave it at that. We know more about what they're doing than they think we do. Again, it's back to the same thing I just talked about with North Korea. These people don't have the capacity to do the things they want to do. It's saber rattling. Biden, I did that video a year ago that says Biden's New World Order. That's the title. And it says that Biden was going to go and work with all these other countries and create a new trade pact, it's not a new NATO, but it's a new trade pact, and he's going to strengthen NATO and expand NATO. Well, hello, this is freaking all of them out. I mean, literally freaking them out. So, yeah, you're going to see a lot of saber rattling, and you're going to see some alliances also, like Russia and China being more of an alliance. So you're going to see some of these other countries allied together in response to the United States reaching out and saying, hey, let's all of us be friends. So you're going to see a new world order sort of coming together, but it's not anything that I'm worried about. We have a lot more to worry about right here on our own soil with our own people, sadly. And that is truly sadly. Thank you for your question. Blessing says, where is the safest area to live in to avoid climatic changes in the United States or the world? In general, the guides are talking about physical, the physical nature of the land, the physical nature of the land. Okay, so you would want to be away from the coast, obviously. And that doesn't mean like 30 miles or 100 miles in. That doesn't mean that, because a lot of times, like Houston is basically built on a swamp, a coastal swamp. It's, 50 miles from the coast, but, and New Orleans is below sea level. So you don't want to be anywhere within the 100-year flood zone. You want to be high. You want to be on a higher ground. So you want to be, 500 foot above sea level, or that's what they said. I'm going to go with it. And you want to stay away from fault lines. You want to stay away from major fault lines. That's it. That's the best things they can tell you. And that goes for anywhere in the world. Anywhere in the world. When you're higher, when you get up really high, you can be worried about mudslides and, that kind of thing. So basically, it's not rocket science. They're saying to me, it's not rocket science. You know what I mean? A high plateau away from a flood, away from a fault line is a great place to live. That, according to them, it's not rocket science. Okay. Thank you. Blessings. Pat Lee says, Pat Lee is talking about Nancy Pelosi going to Taiwan, and will she be okay? And yes, she's fine. I will just say that she also went there with a warning. It was also a little bit of a diplomatic trip of a warning about China minding their own business. Minding their own business. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Pat Lee. Hiki Lady says, will China attack Taiwan or the U.S.? I already talked about that. Also, when do I see Russia failing on their attack of Ukraine? So if you look at my Ukraine videos, which the Spear Guides did 3 Ukraine videos, basically exactly what they said was going to happen is happening. Russia wants to take the Donbass region, which is in the east, down. They really want that coastline because then they own the shipping. Ukraine wants to ship its grain. That's one of its major exporters. It's one of the biggest exporters of grain in that whole area. It's called the breadbasket of Europe. And if Russia controls all the ports, then they can charge Ukraine. But here's the bottom line. I see a big win for Ukraine by December. And I see them pushing Russia out. Russia cannot continue this war. They don't have the manpower. They don't have the men that they do have don't want to do this. They're out of weapons, whereas Ukraine is getting steadily more and more and more sophisticated weapons. This game is going to be over. And they are eventually going to push Russia out of Ukraine. And I mean all of Ukraine, even the part of Ukraine, which is Odessa, that they took back in like 2014. Eventually, they're going to push Russia all the way out. There's a big thing this December that happens. I can't quite tell you. The guide said within 3 years, Russia would be out of Ukraine. That's how long this potentially could take. But I do think the timeline has sped up because the West and the United States has this strong commitment and continues to upgrade their weaponry. So I think that Russia might be out of there by the spring. That's great. That's good news. Another question is, do I see a major food shortage in the U.S.? I don't. You guys keep asking me this every single time I ask for questions. So clearly someone out there is telling you that there's going to be this major food shortage. I see some things being hard to find, like when the baby formula disappeared. Okay, I've often saw meat. We're going to be having problems with meat because the meat processing, the way we do it, needs to change. Everything about the whole processing system, the way we raise that livestock to the processing to the delivery, it's all got to change, which is a big thing. So I see some problems with that, some shortages. I also see shortages with water. So we could have a potential problem with our water sterilization, and we may have tainted water. So I would suggest everybody have a couple of extra gallons of water on hand. They don't last forever, so you can't just put them under your sink and forget about them. You really, they'll spring a leak or whatever. So check them every month, but always have, if you have a big family, I would have 6 or 7 gallons of water. If you have a small family or just, whatever, 3 gallons, whatever. You can also get just some iodine tablets or some kind of thing that would purify. A little camp water purifier would be good to have. That way you can purify the water yourself and it's not a big deal. But that's what I see really more potential happening. Another question that you have is, will Biden be able to finish out his term? That's a loaded question. Right now I'm going to say yes, but it's up for conversation. Let's put it that way. I've always seen him leaving in the middle of a term, whether it's this term or the next term. I've always seen him not finishing a term from before he won. I knew he was going to win, and then they showed me, because I see Kamala becoming president. So that's that. I do think he's mentally able to. That's your next question. I don't see anything mentally wrong with him. I think it's more physical. I think the demands of the job is just, and he's got COVID and times 2, he's just had a rebound. I just think it's physically too demanding for him, honestly. And he's in very good shape. Don't get me wrong. The man is very healthy. I mean, compared to Trump and even Clinton, I mean, Biden is very healthy. So is Obama. And then where do I see the U.S. in the coming years? I think the U.S. is going to come out of this very topsy-turvy time, and we're going to be stronger for it, and we're going to have more allies, and we're going to understand that we need to partner more with our allies and less with people that would do us harm, like China or Saudi Arabia. So I think that's why Biden is focusing on this new world order. We all need to stick together, because when things get tough, you can't always get, for instance, Saudi Arabia not releasing oil when our gas prices were skyrocketing. That was punitive to us. We were being penalized, punished. If that was Australia, they wouldn't have any reason to punish us, right? If it was South Africa, maybe they wouldn't have any reason to punish us. So we need to orient our priorities. And I think that's what Biden is doing. Thank you for your questions. B Spirit says, will the DOJ or anyone ever investigate the curious elections of Mitch McConnell and Lindsey Graham? Okay, so you said anyone, the DOJ or anyone. Will anyone investigate the curious elections? It will come out. It may not come out. Okay. There's going to be people that know that that election was fraudulent. And there's going to be people that have evidence that that election was fraudulent. I don't think they're going to get the attention of the people like the DOJ or other people. I don't think that those two people will go down for rigging the election. I could be wrong. There's a slight possibility that that happens. But if that happens, before that happens, a whole lot of other stuff has to happen. So that would be the icing on the cake. Okay? But they will go down. McConnell and Lindsey Graham are going to step aside. They're going to step down. Especially Lindsey, I hear the word ruined, quote unquote. Mitch McConnell is, I can't say the word in public what he is, unless you just want to call him Satan, because nothing affects him. Nothing. He does not do what the energy suggests that he's going to do. I've said this many, many times. Take any regular human, put them out in the middle of a golf course of lightning strikes, hitting the ground all around them. They're probably going to hit the golf course on their belly and pray and then start army crawling out of there. Mitch McConnell stands there like, yes. You know what I mean? He does not react to energetic. He doesn't react to anything. He doesn't react to situations the way the energy suggests that any human would. That's why I can't read him. He doesn't care. He'll tell me, he'll flat out tell the camera, if I say this and you prove me wrong, call me a liar. He'll get back on the camera 6 months later and say, so I'm a liar. He doesn't care. So it's very hard to nail him down to something. He really does not. He has no bottom. He does not care. But Lindsey Graham cares. Lindsey Graham doesn't want to be ruined. He cares about his reputation. And that's why he's so controllable, if that makes sense to you. Thank you for your question, B. A says, okay, when might the cost of living, especially rent, go down or at the very least become a lot more stable? Well, so this is one of those situations where blue states are doing better than red states. Blue states are doing more checks, more rent abatement programs. Blue states are just doing a better job of, and if you're in a blue state and you don't think they are, I invite you to go to Mississippi. I invite you to go to Alabama or, one of these other states that's just, terrible. If you think it's bad where you are, I promise you it's worse than some of these red states. It feels like we could have, again, it's the roller coaster analogy, right? The guides have been talking about a roller coaster for a while now. I feel like, I don't know how, because I know that they just did a quarterly report and they're saying retail is not in great shape. I think mainly because they sold all of their inventory. But somehow the guides tell me that the fourth quarter is going to be really good for the economy, that people are going to spend money this December, that there's going to be a lot of sales. And maybe what happens is, and this is kind of brilliant in a sense, right? Well, if we can't get this cheap stuff from China to sell, maybe people will go to Etsy. Maybe people will buy from their neighbors. Maybe people will support local-owned businesses or American-owned businesses or Canadian-owned businesses or even products from Mexico. This again, when these things happen, it's sort of pushing us, is it not? It's pushing us to say, well, we can't get this. I'm going to go to this art fair and buy this homemade puzzle that Ralph makes on his skill saw in his garage. In that way, there's money to be spent. And I know people always say, I don't have any money. I don't have any money. I'm just telling you guys, there's more money to be spent than not in this economy right now. And people will find a way to spend it. So I think that's going to stabilize. I think that's really going to stabilize the rent. So I think I don't see the rent going down right now of its own, unless it's like a city program or state program. But I do think it's going to get stabilized. The housing market's already starting to cool off quite a bit in many areas, in the majority of areas. And this goes back to this whole migration thing, right? I think people are really going to start understanding, well, I can get an abortion there. My prescription drugs are cheaper there. And I have better, I feel better. I'm around people that vote like me. I think people are going to start migrating out of red states. And you start looking at like longevity. Human longevity is much less in a red state than it is in a blue state. So I just think people are going to start moving. If you can move north or to a blue state, which is potentially more expensive, but get rent assistance, makes sense. Low Cat says, wondering about the victims of Agent Orange. I know of a number of people with severe health issues, but you don't hear about it much. How come? Well, because the United States didn't acknowledge that we did this to our veterans, and you have Republicans in there every chance they get voting against these types of studies and this type of help. That's why. You can't sue the federal government too, I don't think. So that's why. But it's all going to change. This is this new era of like awareness. Everybody's becoming more aware. And these Gen Zers, I'm telling you guys, they're not going to allow this stuff. It's not. And these older vets are not going to allow it anymore. They're starting to form groups. It also happened after 9/11. All those people that ran in, those first responders, a lot of them are dead, right? So you're going to see some changes. You're going to see some changes, some good changes. Sue Perkins says, former 45 political advisor Stephen Miller reminds me of Reinhard Heydrich, a principal architect of the Holocaust. Is Miller a reincarnation of Heydrich? Any connection between these two individuals? I personally see Miller as Goebbels. God, it gives me the chills. Every time I see Miller, he reminds me of Goebbels. You're probably seeing, Sue, the Nazi energy that you can pick up around him, allegedly, and for entertainment purposes only. I think that's what you're using your brain, because Stephen Miller may be the architect. Stephen Miller in this life is sort of acting like the architect of the you know what I mean? He's the developer, he's the planner. But honestly, his energy for me reminds me of Goebbels. Okay, thank you for your question, Sue. Karen Ettinger, thank you for your question. Right, here's that guy. Getting back to MBS. That's the acronym Saudi Arabian guy that I couldn't remember. She says, getting back to MBS and the Khashoggi murder, there were rumors at the time that Erdogan had a recording of the attack and was blackmailing 45 for special treatment of some sort. Any truth to that? Well, honestly, 45 could care less. He really didn't care if Khashoggi was murdered. He would have just come out and said they shouldn't have done that, So I don't think there's any blackmailing leverage there. Now, there could be leverage for Congress or leverage for right. My God. Okay. So you have this situation where Erdogan says, "Oh, I've got this video, and it implicates you, or it implicates your son, your son-in-law, and what are you going to do about it?" And I can see that Trump says, "Yeah, we better give him some money." Wink, 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 and then goes back behind Erdogan and takes. Do you understand what I'm saying? Splits the money with Erdogan, defrauds the government. Saying the serenity prayer right now in my head. Okay, so for entertainment purposes only. Okay, any truth to, okay, so also, did Kushner get $2 billion solely because he okayed the murder, or was it payment for much more? It was murder. It was payment for much more than that. It was payment for a lot of things. And whatever it was an investment. So I give you $2 billion, but I'm probably going to make $20 billion off of what you gave me. Okay? It was an investment. It wasn't so much of a payoff as it was, yeah, I'll give you $2 billion for that because I can turn around and get this much more for it. And thirdly, she says, if I may, can we assume that Kushner's will no longer have money troubles, or will Jared find a way to squander his booty? Jared, I can't describe what they're showing me. Jared is he's not going to have a golden parachute. Let me put it to you that way. He's not going to walk away from this whole debacle unscathed, unmarred. He's not. He may have some money after it's done and said and done, because he runs with a certain type of crowd that can get money, if you know what I'm saying to you, in various ways that's not trackable. But he's going to go through some things. He might not be living in the United States. I mean, he might just kind of quietly disappear and do his things somewhere else. But he's not going to have the power, the overt public power that he does now. He won't have in 2 years. He's going to be in the headlines a lot, apparently. Thank you for your question, Karen. R.N. Swan says, oh, okay, y'all, using the euphemisms for 45, and then I thought you were talking about Agent Orange from the previous question. So the guides don't catch on to these euphemisms so quickly. So I have to jump in and translate and go back out. It's a busy place up there. It's like air traffic control. With Agent Orange 45 out of the White House, is DOJ doing anything about all the money laundering, shell accounts, Russian influence, etc.? Because it's all connected for years prior to and after 1/6. You guys, the DOJ is hamstrung right now. There are enemy combatants, is what they just said to me. Enemy combatants in the DOJ. The DOJ is hamstrung right now. It's really not operating at full strength. Okay? That's that. It will, but it's not now. It's like, okay, so they're showing me the United States has cancer. The cancer has spread to the DOJ, to all these departments, to FBI, CIA, blah, 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 blah. You don't just pluck one out and then wait and go get the other. You try to get them all at the same time, right? So they're trying to, this pincher, they were telling me this morning about these pinchers, you know what I mean, that are just kind of coming in, and what they're doing is pushing these people together, kind of, and they're going to capture them. I don't know. When I get off in the other land, I don't even know what the question was anymore. The DOJ. So I told you about that. They're going to pull these people out of these, very important departments, and they're going to sanitize the departments, and the departments are going to be made whole again, just like the Secret Service will. And they are going to find out. They are going to do a really good job of tracking down those leads all the way back, even to, the 80s, the 1980s. Now, of course, that's way beyond prosecutable time, but it does something. When they go back to those 1980s, it just helps them see the bigger picture. They're really ready to see the bigger picture. They're not going to just stop here and let everybody else go. They're really trying to go all the way back. That's one of Garland's problems. He's trying to go, the investigation is too big. It's too big. He can't, the guides have said this many times. Think about a net on the bottom of the floor, the ocean, and you're waiting for the fish to, get over your net. Well, they are. You pull your net up, but they show me they can't lift the net. There's too many fish in there. It's too much work. It's too heavy. They literally cannot lift the fish. Another thing they show me is if you're a nature buff, you've seen the eagle swoop down and grab the salmon with his claws and not be able to lift the salmon out of the water because the salmon's too heavy, and then they fall in the water themselves. Same analogy, same energy. This is the problem. They want it all. They want to know it all. And that's why Jan 6 has been so successful. They just focused on Trump. They had a mission. They targeted the mission. They stayed on the mission. But the DOJ is just like mission creep all over the place. We really need to sort of get it together. Holy moly. Sorry about that. Okay, a few more questions, guys, and then we're going to have to do a part 2. Ken, this is a great question. Ken Lloyd says, will the drought in the western states cause power outages, food shortages, and mass migration in the fourth quarter of 2022? Yes and no. It's going to cause more migration, but not in 2022 because people just can't move that quickly. They would like to, but they just can't. You will be able to look at you'll be able to look at next year and see migration, people moving out of those areas. Yes. It is going to cause power outages, they're telling me. This could cause some of the food shortages people are seeing, but I don't see it on a level of a catastrophe. What is it going to do? It's going to raise food prices, which we don't need. I see the government stepping in, and I grew up during the Reagan years where, my dad stood in line for a block of cheese and a tub of peanut butter this big. And there might be times when the government steps in and there's more food banks, more government-sponsored food banks. The thing that's sort of lining up is the Ukraine crisis, along with our own United States fires and crazy weather affecting our own grain. That could cause problems, but not this soon. They're not telling me this soon. But all those things that you mentioned are in play and will likely happen to one degree or another as we go into next year. And again, listen, this is the theme. The theme is we're being pushed. The gas prices went up right about the time when all these U.S. automakers are coming out with more EV cars, more hybrids. We're being pushed to buy more economical cars. We're being pushed to get solar. We're going to start seeing more solar subsidies. The next Congress that comes in with the Gen Zs will put just amazing things in bills. Charging stations, subsidies for charging stations, subsidies for solar, wind, subsidies for water conservation. Like there's actually tax breaks that you can get in some Western states if you don't have grass. You can get a tax break if you use Xeriscape. This is going to start happening across the United States. So what they showed me was these electrical wires, and they showed me the wires burning. And so then they showed me solar, and they showed me solar being cool. The temperature is cooler. Okay, so you're going to see those effects, okay? That the United States government is going to encourage those things with subsidies. Thank you for your question, Ken. Last question is Angel Wings. What was the real reason Pence did not get in the car to leave the Capitol on January 6th? Well, they asked this question in the last time. Pence knew. So I think maybe the underpinning question is, was Pence afraid for his life? No, he wasn't afraid for his life. He had people that he really trusted in his team and his detail, but he also knew that if he got in that car, America would be at war. If he didn't ratify that vote, if he didn't stay in the Capitol, if the senators, if the House of Representatives did not stay in there and ratify that vote, we would be under martial law, and who knows where we would be today. And that's why all of those elected people stayed. The only person who ran was Josh Hawley, right? So that's the reason everyone stayed, was because they knew if they gave up that space, the whole Capitol will be overrun, game over. We would have martial law. We'd probably have to have we would probably have to have military rule for some period of time until we could have some sort of new, free, and clear elections. That's the real reason. I know you guys keep asking, but that's the reason the guides keep telling me. It would have been game over for democracy for a while, not permanently, but for a while. Would have been scary. So listen, guys, thank you so much for joining me, for watching all the way to the end. I really appreciate you guys so much. Gold stars, I don't know where you can spend them, but I suggest that you take all your gold stars and do something nice for yourself. Spend it on you. So you might get a massage, reflexology, you might buy an ice cream, you might buy yourself some beautiful cut flowers from your garden or buy some from a store. You might decide to do something else nice for yourself. But please take care of yourself, guys. This is really serious. We still haven't entered the time of most of our it's not like it's going to be, a war. And I don't see any of that, but I do see just like, wow, this happened. Wow, this happened. Wow, this happened. Oh my gosh, this happened. Oh my gosh. Okay, I see a lot of just hecticness. And we haven't started that yet. There's still time for you to take a vacation. There's still time for you to disconnect from this energy. I'm not watching the news. I mean, every once in a while, a friend texts me something. Holy moly, did you see that? So, take good care of yourself, because truly, you guys, in October and in November, we're going to have to get our running sneakers on. We're going to have to get busy. We're going to have to get really, really busy. So now's the time when you can take a break. Please do so. Okay. Thanks for joining me. Please like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. I really appreciate it. If you think more people would benefit from hearing this stuff, subscribing allows YouTube to say, oh, we'll show this to more people. Liking the video does the same thing. YouTube says, oh, people like this. Let me show this to more people. So if you think this information needs to get out, please do those things. It would really help me, and it might help the next person that sees it as well. Take really good care of yourself, okay? I'll be back with part 2. I'm super busy, but I will be back with part 2 in a few days, and we'll see you soon. Bye.